you started touching a base on a little bit about how to find a contractor, and that's, for a long time I didn't really even think about it, but it is a daunting thing the more I talk to people. So, you were lucky enough to figure out, one way to find us through the website, that there's a National Association of the Remodeling Industry. There's a National Association of Home Builders, NARI and NAHB. NAHB has a remodeling division now. Remodeling has gotten so big. It's actually surpassed new home building. But those two sites, for us to be on them, we have to have had a whole series of courses that we take through them. And they have very in-depth courses. We've flown all over the United States taking these courses. They're offered usually at the national conventions. And what they're trying to do, which is a very good thing, and what we're all about too, is trying to raise the bar in the construction industry. The bar has been so low, and so many people have had so many bad experiences with contractors that as an industry, a number of us have joined together to try and make it more professional. And so one of the ways we thought would be the best way would be to offer courses. Most contractors come up through the trades. They don't have any business background. Unfortunately, running a business is running a business, whether it's construction, a bakery, a dry cleaners, whatever it is, it's all the same. You need to, besides knowing how to make cookies or build a house, you need to know how to run a business. And that's really 80% of running a construction company is knowing how to run a business. So with no training, there you are, you buy your truck and you buy your tools and you're ready to go off. Maybe you get a contractor's license, maybe you don't, and you're ready for business, but it's business is business. Cash flow is the number one thing. It doesn't matter what size. If you're a multi-billion-dollar company, cash flow is still a problem. So it's the number one thing of any business, and how to manage that cash flow. It isn't just something you learn how to nail a nail. It's experience. There's a lot of tricks. There's a lot of tools that you have to be given, and you need consultants. You need good accounting. You need people that can, do your books. There's so many different laws that we have to be complying to, and all that sort of thing, that it's daunting. So one of the things that these organizations has done is trying to professionalize everything. So to be on their website in your area, you have to have gone through this training, and they do a pretty good job of interviewing and making, checking on references, how long you've been in business, do you have all the basic insurance and all that stuff. So it's a good way to weed out, even amongst, say, licensed contractors, somebody that's, kind of going the extra mile, trying to learn how to be professional. That's what it's really about. Yeah, those are kind of some of the areas, you could reach out to try and find somebody. I think more important, once you've gone through that process, maybe you've asked a friend, recommendation, you've gone through one of these sites, and you've called up, made an appointment, and what are the questions you would ask once you're interviewing them. So what would come to mind to you? I have some ideas, but looking backwards, what questions would you have liked to have asked?
Well, I think it's the ones that we ended up talking about, which was kind of the things that you talked about. I mean, as a checklist, I would start, I would be asking about the types I would probably start with, what kind of contractor are you? What is your experience? What are the jobs that you currently are doing? What have you done in the past? What do you like to do? what are the types of the work you have to do, after we talked about our job. So what kind of, are you the person that just does the remodeling, or are you the person that, can you do the project? Is there an alignment between what my project is and what your experience
One
is?
thing right on that would be a good question to ask somebody in that same context is, because you're hiring a general contractor, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
What was your trade? Because not every general contractor was necessarily a carpenter.
Right.
Or necessarily a tile guy or whatever. That's a flag, because a tile guy is a sub that doesn't really see the whole job. So he may not be the person that could pull it out. He may be, but it might be something you want to go into more about.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because that I hadn't thought of
what's
it.
their training, what's their background, how did
Right.
they get to where they are?
Yeah, how did you work your way up into this business, and what are you doing? So that would be so the first question I would have was that, and then I would really want to get into the business side of it. How do you do business? How do you run the project? The things that we talked about. Are you looking for money up front? If so, now that I know because of the education, working with you, I would ask questions. If you do want the money up front, how are we going to, how do we set up this separate account? So we'd really, the insurance aspect, the liability aspect, but all the business, I would kind of group it into the business pieces. What are the site supervision, the things that we talked about. So if I talked about, and then if we got through those things and they seemed, and I would probably, in that, I would want, as I work through this initial conversation with them, I would want to see what their willingness is to kind of show me kind of proof of some of those things. Yeah. But and that would culminate with the next piece would be references and speaking to someone that has had a project similar to the one that we're going to go do.
I think the reference thing is sometimes overlooked, and it's sometimes thought, they're only going to give you the good references, why even call? But I think it is worth, you get kind of behind the curtain that you can't otherwise. You can ask the right questions to that person and say, well, what were, because every job's going to have some low point and some
right.
good point. So, in the low points, and really this is a good point, I think, it isn't so much that, because most people perform, so it's what happened when it went south. So there's always something, that didn't work out the way it was thought, or there was a mistake made, or whatever. So how did that person, when you're asking the reference, how did that person show up when there was a mistake, or when there was a conflict, or when
right.
there was something? How did it get resolved? Because that's really what you want. Pretty much everybody can do this over here, but how did they show up when
something went wrong, but off the rails a little bit? Yeah.
But there was a place where it needed to get resolved. How did it was it resolved in a good way, or did they even did they walk away from it, or how did it happen?
I don't think we've talked about this, but one of my questions would be now, after watching your company, is I would ask, what was the cleanliness of the job site like? Because I think it reflects directly to the professionalism of the company. And we really haven't talked about this, but one of the things that happened right in the beginning when I saw the site is you had posters around the site and things like that said to any subcontractor or anyone on the site, here is the expectations. You will clean up your mess. Site will be cleaned daily. There will be no stray, nails, materials, things like that. And what it really showed me right from the beginning was this was kind of like the leadership of the project, and you've got to keep it clean. Since then, there's several homes going through remodel on the island where we live right now, and one of them I was just past yesterday, and there's garbage all around the site. It's thrown in, and so it makes you think, if that's how the contractor is allowing the site, what is their attention to detail
Right.
in terms of the quality of the work, things
That's
like
a good
that?
point. So, we do an independent survey at the end of all of our jobs. We have a third party that surveys all of our customers. And the number one thing that shows up over the last 25 years is that they're amazed at how clean our jobs are. And so, for us, we don't really think about it. I mean, that just, well, yeah, you got to clean the job. And I've also asked building inspectors. I've asked every building inspector that we've ever had. So it's hundreds of building inspectors. And I said, because I'm always curious, I know the answer, but I always want to find out. I said,
Right.
when you go on a job and you see trash everywhere, does that raise a flag for you and you look closer at every little thing because you're not sure that guy's got his stuff together to be able to build the building? He goes, oh, 100%. He goes, they have violation after violation after violation. They have, all the corrections we can't even do all the corrections in one day. I have to come back multiple days. He goes, if a job is clean, we know that the guy's going to take care of it. We can't find stuff a lot of times.
Well, one of the things
to even have a correction.
One of the things about that too is when you're doing a remodel is the relationship you have with the neighbors. And that's something that we haven't talked about as well. But the cleanliness of the job site directly reflected on how my neighbors felt about the project. Sure. But the other thing I would ask them, and this is something else we didn't talk about, is how do you handle the relationship with the neighbors around the project? Yeah. And you took care of every piece of it. And the neighbors, I mean, as it's turned out, some of these jobs, there's been some of my neighbors that have also come to you and asked, been your clients. But I think it was that was a key feature and something I would ask them about.
Yeah, it's important because you're going to live here after us if we've set the tone. They hate
right.
they hate this house, they hate whoever's here.
Right.
That doesn't really provide a service on our part. But I've gone to that point too sometimes where we've given flowers to the lady
right.
next door because sorry, I know we were noisy for a whole week. I'm sorry we were doing the demolition. Just wanted to here's some flowers. And we've had neighbors bake us a cake, for thanking us for giving them the flowers or whatever. But I mean, you want to have a relationship with the neighbors, and it is important. The other thing that you could ask about is warranty. It's a kind of tells you the level of contractor that you're going to get, and if they kind of look at you cross-eyed, like what's a warranty, then you kind of know what kind of goes before that. So. We kind of take it to the nth degree, but for us, we feel like at the end of the project, if it's a big enough project, we want to give you a notebook, and it's got all the subcontractors' phone numbers, it's got all the paint colors, it's got all the appliances, it's got all the details in there and all the equipment that you've ordered, all the warranties, it's got all that stuff in there. So, when a question comes up, inevitably it does, the refrigerator stops working, you can go right in there. There's a number to call. You can call us. We can call for warranty on the equipment, whatever it is. But it's a nice packet. We warranty things for a year. It's on us. We try to take the positive approach, and we call you at 3 months, and we call you at 6 months, and we call you at 11 months to ask you if you do have any warranty items. Just again to provide customer service. Some people feel awkward calling. There's a screw loose on the, on the switch plate. Could you come and fix it? Or whatever it is. So I go, yeah, no problem. But we're trying to be, take the approach where we want to know how is our house performing for you, and come out and do those things. And usually, if there's a house is built for a long time. 1 year kind of gets you through, some of the loose ends, but, people call us 5 years later and, we'll come and fix something. It's not a just a 1 year thing, but that's a good question to ask people,
Right.
About